Big news from President Trump this morning. He has said this on Truth Social. Many countries, especially those who are affected by Iran's attempted closure of the Hormuz Strait, will be sending warships in conjunction with the United States of America to keep the strait open and safe. He urges China, France, Japan, and others affected to assist in this endeavor. This is big news. Earlier in the week, it was rumored that this was something under consideration. It was dismissed initially, but now it looks like the United States warships will guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz, which will ease that pressure on energy, on gas prices. Big news this morning from the Commander-in-Chief. We will keep you updated. Well, on to this. It's week 9 of our coverage of the Save America Act. Senate Majority Leader John Thune confirming the common sense bill will hit the floor, on Wednesday. That's big. Now, he promised, quote, robust debate. But when it comes to the talking filibuster, he says the votes simply are not there. Now, our producers have reached out to Republican senators to confirm exactly where they stand on the talking filibuster to get voter ID. Here's what we found. 28 senators confirmed they support using the talking filibuster to pass the Save America Act. 18 senators did not respond to our request for comment. We did not reach out to the remaining 7 offices since they had been very public in their support of the talking filibuster. That's a rough little count there of where the Senate offices stand. Now, here are some of the standouts of those who did support the talking filibuster. Nebraska Senator Pete Ricketts told us he, quote, would support a talking filibuster to pass the Save America Act. Wyoming Senator Cynthia Loomis said this: if my conference decides a talking filibuster is the path forward, I'm all in. I'll stay here until the cows come home, she said. And South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds told us he, quote, supports the right of every senator to use the talking filibuster for unlimited debate, including me. And hot off the press, Senator John Cornyn came out in support, writing an op-ed this week. I believe that Democrats, with their votes and statements, have already dealt the filibuster a fatal blow. The Senate rules will change eventually, whether Republicans like it or not. The answer is clear. We need to stand, fight, and win. Joining me now to react, former Democrat West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. He became an independent. I'm so excited to speak with you. I've been wanting to do it for quite some time. Senator Manchin, you put out a tweet. Yeah, great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
You put out a tweet this week about Senator Cornyn's decision, and you said this: when I was a U.S. Senator, there was not another person more committed to keeping the filibuster than John Cornyn. It's deeply disappointing to see that Cornyn is now willing to scrap the very rule he once praised. I wanted to extrapolate on your thoughts because Cornyn's position is there's a new political reality and I need to change.
Well, I would just say that John's a good man. I've been a friend and he's been my friend for a long time. I was just very disappointed because he knows what the filibuster, that's the soul of the Senate. We're completely different than any other legislative body in the world because we allow participation by the minority. That's why you have the 60-vote threshold. It used to be unlimited talking, and they're talking about going back to that. But you couldn't just basically get rid of the talking with a 51-vote threshold. It was always a majority. And that's the thing I'm concerned about. And I guess you'd want to say, which side are you on? Are you going to be the person or the party that basically nukes the whole Senate as you know it? Because we'll be flip-flopped just like the House. The House works on simple majority, Kayleigh. 218, you can do anything you want. In the Senate, we were designed by our founding fathers, including President Washington and his gang back then, basically to make the Senate different. It cooled things off. We took hot issues. We tried to homogenize them to where we could live with them, and they lasted for a long period of time. It's hard to pass legislation in the Senate. It's even harder to get rid of it. And what will happen, I know my Republican friends are saying, well, if we don't do it, the Democrats are going to do it. And I would say to every voter right now, if you're looking at who you're going to vote for in the next Senate election in your state, ask the question, are you going to get rid of the filibuster if you're a Democrat or not? Hold the Democrat, put their feet to the fire. Because I've said this, I wanted my Republican friends to win the majority because at the time I knew with Senator Schumer and what he had already amassed as far as the participation to get rid of it, except for me and Kyrsten Sinema. They're saying, well, there's no more Joe Manchins and Kyrsten Sinema. There's a lot of good people that know right from wrong, and they know they don't want to be going down in the annals of history that I'm the one that voted to get rid of how the Senate operates and functions.
You know, Senator Manchin, it was just you and Sinema holding out against the entirety of your party, and a lot of Republicans thanked you for that. But I want to play, the so-called moderate. That's how the media has been billing him. Here's James Tallarico's view on the filibuster. He, of course, is the Democratic nominee in Texas.
We should abolish the filibuster in the U.S. Senate so that we can actually pass these kinds of bold pieces of legislation that are going to protect the rights of workers.
You know, that is the new moderate candidate. Do you believe there is a single Democrat now that would do what you and Sinema did? Because he doesn't appear to be one of them.
No, he doesn't appear to be one of them. And if John Cornyn is running against him and was protecting the filibuster, I would say that would give John Cornyn an edge. People that don't know the Senate, I would say this: anybody who's ever served in the Senate and been in the minority party in the Senate, where you don't have the majority, but you could always participate. You could always sit down with your colleagues on the other side, and they would listen to you and try to consider that. That's gone. That will be gone. They're saying, well, that's all broken down. There's no commonality. There's no civility. There's no decorum. But if you get rid of this, I can assure you, you'll never have a chance for the Senate to operate the way it was intended to do and the way it has done for over 200 years. And all of a sudden, we're throwing that. So James Tallarico's never been in the Senate. He has no idea how it operates. And anybody that's been in the Senate knows if they've been in the minority, I got a chance to participate. That's gone if you get rid of it.
Senator Manchin, I want to play for you a clip from Senator Fetterman. We speak to him very often on the show, and he has repeated this refrain often. Listen to this.
Virtually every Democrat that I'm aware of says we can never allow Iran to acquire nuclear bombs, and they were a significant risk to America. So I know why they don't say that now, because I'm aware that it is very damaging as a Democrat to just happen to agree with the president on anything. But for me, that's easy, a country over party.
Is there room in the Democratic Party for a voice like Senator Fetterman's who says, I am here for country over party?
If the Democrats want to have control again, or be in the majority, or have a president that's a Democrat, or registered as a Democrat, then they better get with commonality of what's going on. I do not fault President Trump at all for doing what he did. Well, I wish we would have had more of our traditional allies with us. Now it sounds like they might be getting more involved now. It would have been better if the Senate and the House could have been more up to tune of why the threat was there, why something had to be done. But I can tell you, when I was first elected in November of 2010, we had four countries of concern, always four countries: China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. They're never going to have our back. They're never going to be on our side. And Iran is the most prolific terrorist supporters in the world. That had to be wiped out sooner or later. We should have had the whole world coming with us. They didn't come at first. Maybe we didn't really cudgel that, if you will, but it's never too late. Let's get them involved now. Let's make sure we can finish this job, and we have to. Now, I will say this too, Kayleigh, then we have to basically lean hard on our Gulf state allies, the Saudis and the Arab community, the UAEs, the Qatars, Bahrain. They have to basically step up to lead in that part of the world. It's not going to be the United States able to coming into a Muslim country and be able to lead it. It's not going to be Israel. But it will be the Arab states if we can get them engaged more. That's what I'm hoping for. And I think that the president could do that. He has that ability to do it. But we all have to be in this. We're in this together right now. So throwing darts is not going to solve a thing. And I'm wanting him to finish the job. I want our allies to jump in and help us finish it and take care and cut the head of the snake off once and for all.
Senator Joe Manchin, thank you for your time this morning.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.